honest about this. I believe, and I'm waiting for anybody to contradict what I'm going to say. If perhaps we did not have Mr. Ken Dapa as National Security Minister, and we had one of those hotheads as National Security Minister, I can't tell where this country will be today. And there's an honest view. I've been watching the security situation very carefully. And I think I know what I'm talking about. You know, when some MPP guys decided to storm the president's office, and everybody knew that was going to lead to mayhem and so on, who diffused the situation? And if that situation had not been diffused, where do you think that Ghana would be today? That is not the only thing, you know, that one can talk about. You remember his comments on judicial attitude to political issues and the consequence and so on. And how these MPP chaps jumped on him and kicked him left and right and insulted him and so on. So I think that it's better to have him there than other possible candidates and so on. And I say this quite honestly. However, the security architecture in this country is not something to boast about. And I was scandalized when I read the president's assessment of the national security situation. You see, recently a police intelligence report was published. Okay? Now, if you read that police intelligence report, it says that, and according to the police intelligence report, not my words, the Islamic insurgents causing mayhem in Burkina Faso and others had infiltrated Ghana and were south of Tamale, had infiltrated so far that they were south of Tamale, and that they were sleeping cells. They have sleeping cells in Ghana. What a frightening situation. And the president is comfortable with this situation. I can't believe it. Just this alone is frightening enough. But you see, bless, think about what I'm going to say. We've had a situation where a Palestinian businessman visiting Ghana arrives at the Kotoka International Airport. Listen very carefully. And is kidnapped by Israeli intelligence before he gets to the airport junction. Kidnapped by Israeli intelligence. Israeli intelligence arrives in this country with 2 private jets. And they kidnap this Palestinian businessman, take him to a safe house in Accra, keep him there for over a week, torturing him. And our state security didn't know about it. This is the state of our intelligence. This is the state of security. Is the president happy about this? A situation where a foreign intelligence agency comes to our capital, kidnap a businessman, torture him. They come with jets, 2 private jets, and fly him outside the country. I'm sure some of you will remember how much noise we made. And eventually, this Palestinian businessman was released to his family in a state of health which was shocking. He had lost half his weight. You understand? I am frightened. I am frightened. If the Israeli intelligence can operate in this manner in our country, who is safe? Who is safe in Ghana? Even he, the president, is not safe. Because we know what Israeli intelligence has done to heads of states across the world who they disagree with. And if they can operate with this level of freedom and so on, there must be a problem. You understand? So I'm worried about that. I'm also worried about the kinds of agreements you have entered into, defense agreements you have entered into with the United States of America and the European Union. Those kinds of arrangements, those kinds of agreements subordinate us to foreign security operations. And I know what they did in Ghana leading to the 1966 coup. We have just recently learned the great deception, how the CIA overthrew Akroma. Their own confessions, their own declassified documents show us what they did in our country with impunity to subvert the African Revolution, to subvert Ghana's movement forward. So I am cringing when our security is handed over to the same forces which overthrew Kwame Nkrumah and brought us to our knees. So I am not impressed with the assessment made by the president. I am not impressed with the assessment made by the president at all. You understand? Now we are going to go into an election very soon. In fact, on 7th December, we'll be holding parliamentary and presidential elections. And the president in his State of the Nation address assures all of us of free and fair elections. And I'm sitting back, I'm saying, is this Ghana? Is this not the country where card-bearing party members are being appointed onto the Electoral Commission? What do I make of this assurance of free and fair elections? Where card-bearing party communicators are being appointed onto the Electoral Commission. The last appointment which was made, one of the guys who was appointed, I saw a video of him swearing he would never allow NDC to come to power. So with this kind of Electoral Commission, what do I make of the assurance that there will be free and fair elections in Ghana? With this kind of Electoral Commission, where a member of the commission can open his mouth, what do they say?
Oh, is allowed.
Okay. I'll actually say that a political party which is going to contest the elections that he's supervising is a danger to democracy. How can anybody be assuring me of free and fair elections? I am frightened about the prospects before us. I welcome the decision of the National Democratic Congress to go back to IPAC. I think it's a wise move. And I think that if it works well within that framework, it may help resolve some of the issues that have confronted elections in the country over a period of time. But the key to organizing free and fair elections is the assurance that those who will supervise the elections and make the rules govern the elections and so on are neutral to the extent that is possible. I don't have that assurance today. And I'm worried. And I cannot take what is in the President's State of the Nation address at face value. So he's addressing Parliament, and he says that when it comes to roads and so on, that one, it will not be in this address. You have to use some special application, use digitalization or digitization or whatever, go to school to learn ICT and so on, and then you will find it on some application. In a country with an illiteracy rate of 50% or thereabout, our president says that we should all become modern ICT offenders. Use applications go on platforms and so on to find what he has done in respect of roads. You see, we don't need to do that to find the state of roads in our country. This morning, I drove from Musuku to this station. I know the state of the roads from Musuku to this place. You understand? I know the state of roads in Christian Village. That's why I passed to come here. You see the Zoom Park? You see the road in front of the Zoom Park? Do I need any special application to know the state of roads in front of the Zoom Park? I don't. We all travel around this country. I go to the Volta region. I see the state of roads in the Volta region. Only recently, the Asante Youth Association held a press conference in Kumasi and bemoaned the state of national infrastructure, especially in the Asante region. Why? If they use that special application, would their views change? Will it change their knowledge? What is this? What is this? Our president has become so ICT savvy that now he won't tell us what he has done. If you want to know what he has done, go and use an application. It's a statement about even presidential accountability. He's not going to talk to you. He's not going to tell you what he has done. If you are not ICT savvy, well, it's up to you. You will never know. I mean, unbelievable. Then you know now, many things are happening in the country, but I'm going to speak about two. Okay. You listen to these MPP communicators, and they come and sit on platforms such as this one, and they throw figures. GDP in 1988 was so much. GDP in 1997 was this. And the per capita income was that, and so on. And I'm sitting and saying, my goodness, which country are these people talking about? Huh? Something debt ratio and so on. They throw the figures. You understand? If you take your time and examine those figures, first of all, what they are throwing are not true. But for the average person sitting at home watching television, how is he going to be able to calculate gross domestic product, per capita income, gross national income, and so on, and so on? So if they are eloquent enough, and if they have the vim, they confuse you. You understand? Now, my brothers and sisters, don't worry your head about per capita income. Don't worry your head about gross national income. You have lived in this country over the last 7 years. Is your life better today than yesterday, or is worse than yesterday? That is all. That is so simple. You don't need ICT savviness to be able to do that. All you need to do is to go to the market. All you need to do is to send your children to school. All you need to do is to go to the hospital. Your real life will tell you what the figures are. So don't mind them when they come throwing figures at you. It is only intended to confuse you. Those figures have meaning only in your real life. That's the only way those figures would have meaning. My brother, we have been told, and sometimes, last week I actually heard somebody who claims to be a professor in economics. I'm not a professor in economics, so. Not a professor in economics. I mean, the only economics I studied was in the Ghana Institute of Journalism, where we did some 2x4 economics, you understand. But this guy says that he's a professor in economics. And he says that we have turned the corner. He's repeating what the finance minister said. We have turned the corner. Look at the rate of inflation. Look at that indicator and so on. And I'm sitting back home, watching this professor on television. And I'm saying that, look, this professorship thing, now, what is the value? If all these people are calling themselves professor, then what is the value of this professorship? I know there are some very brilliant professors. Some professors, when they talk, I mean, they make a lot of sense. My own good friend Answer someone who just passed. Brilliant professor. I mean, Akila Kwasoya, brilliant professor. And so on. So many of them at Pendream and so on. Brilliant. When they speak, Master, you yourself, you know that they are talking sense. And you can relate to what they are saying. But there are some to Abba. Where did you get this professor from? And this professor boldly repeating this garbage that we have turned the corner and using the rate of the city, that there's some stability in the rate of the city. You know, inflation has stabilized and so on. Master, when this government came to power, the city was 3.6 to $1. It is now 13 to $1. What corner have you turned? You have moved it from 3.6 to 13, and you are telling me that you've turned the corner. What corner have you turned? Master, leave it at that for a moment. As we sit here now, we are not paying our debts. We have frozen payments. So all of these figures that they are throwing about are a consequence of our refusal to pay our debt and the infusion into the economy of over $200 million from the IMF. If the next tranche doesn't come, if we start paying our debts, all these figures will start jumping haywire. So what corner have we turned? What corner have we turned? Just amazing. Now, all of this is a clear indication that our policymakers and implementers and those who speak for them think that we are fools. Because if they didn't think that we're fools, would they be throwing these figures at us? Would they be telling us about achievements when there's disaster in our face and so on? Now, my brother Kojo Chumbuafo, of course, I mean, Kojo's performance is very difficult to repeat. You know, Kojo's standards of criticism are way above average when it comes to the heat they generate and so on. So I'm very careful when I'm with him on the platform. Because if you don't take time and you want to follow his example, you may end up where you don't want to go. Kojo has special standards. But Kojo makes reference to the flooding in parts of the Volta region. And the fact that this major national catastrophe is not in anywhere reflected in the State of the Nation address. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, is that surprising? It is not. When the flooding occurred, the head of state visited the place and made a statement. And he never forgot that the people in that area did not vote for him. Have you forgotten? He told them in the face, not in the back, in the face, that I'm here in spite of the fact that you didn't vote for me. That's significant. That shows his attitude to the crisis which ought to be a national crisis. Who voted for him was important, you know. And then, and look, I am going to be very, very